All right, what is going on, guys? So this is another rare video where it's completely unscripted, and I'm going to be reviewing the S22, S22 Plus, and the S22 Ultra. And the reason why I'm doing this in one video instead of 3 separate videos is because I feel like it'd be a waste of your guys' time if I just made 10-minute videos on each device when I'm basically saying the same thing, because they share a lot of similarities, but there's minor difference between the two, and you can also get a bit of a comparison as well. So first, let's talk about the display, which I think is one of the biggest features of Samsung devices, and the display is phenomenal. Like, the displays that Samsung puts on their flagships, bar none, are one of the best displays you can get on smartphones. With that being said, the Ultra does run at the highest setting, or you do have the option to run it at the highest setting, which is what I did at 1440. I didn't really notice that big of a battery hit. I'll talk a little bit more about battery life later, but the 1440 setting on the Ultra did give me a pleasant experience. With that being said, the 1080 screens on the S22 Plus and the regular S22, I don't think a lot of people are going to notice. So if you do decide to pick up the regular S22 or S22 Plus, I don't think you're going to be disappointed by the display, because they're still, I would say, just a cut above the rest in terms of the colors. The other thing that you guys need to know as well is that we still have the LTPO technology. So these screens do run at 120 Hertz and they do drop down as well, but you're not really going to notice it whenever it does that change. And I definitely noticed that improvement as the One UI gets better. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is build quality. Now, compared to last year's iteration of the S series, which would be the S21, which I have right here, they are a bit smaller, but I would say that this is a nice change for Samsung. I say that because it's more of a boxy feel, and before we had the curve, which honestly I still kind of prefer, but as you can see, the edges are curved a little bit and it just feels more comfortable to hold in the hand. But we have this new boxy design, so they're able to save a little bit more on space. And in terms of the overall design, you can tell that it's not that different compared to the S21 from last year, at least on the back. And I would also say, Samsung, I do like the design that you choose for, kind of integrating your camera into the overall design of the phone. I think it's very sleek. But the most distinct, I would say, is the S22 Ultra. We just have like these punch out holes for the lenses. And this is my favorite color out of them all. This is like the green that they have. And it just looks a little premium, but also has like a hint of fun in it. It reminds me a little bit of the OnePlus 8 that they had back in the day. I think it's like the glacial green. But the design language of the S22 Ultra, I think, is probably my favorite out of all four, or not four, three. But build quality, I would definitely give a A+ over to Samsung. Now, since we are talking about the overall build quality and design of these phones, let's go ahead and talk about the speakers a little bit. So the speakers, this is something that you're probably not going to notice unless you have all 3 phones side by side in comparison. But the speakers, this is going to be a recurring theme. The speakers sound, I don't even know how to describe it. They sound, the Ultra just sounds the best. It's crazy how Samsung can provide such speaker experience from a device like this. With that being said, I'm not knocking the S22 Plus or the regular S22 at all, but if you want a really good speaker experience from a smartphone, the Ultra is going to do it for you. The S22 Plus also has fantastic speakers as well, and the S22, it's a little bit lacking. Now, a little bit more about the speakers. I was told that I should enable Dolby Atmos, and I can definitely tell in many instances that with Dolby Atmos enabled, it sounds noticeably better. With that being said, I'd say 10% of the time, there are times where the Atmos kind of makes it sound worse. So I would say your mileage would vary. I would say play with it with a little bit. If you think the audio sounds weird, I would say disable Dolby Atmos and maybe the speakers will be better. But out of all the speakers, Ultra wins once again. But Yeah, we'll get to my preference at the end of the video. Now, they all share the same chip, so this is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. I think that's what we're doing now. It's like 888 Gen 1, or maybe it's 8 Gen 1. But they all share the same processor, so you don't feel like you're losing anything in terms of performance if you do decide to go with the cheaper option. With that being said, there is less RAM in the S22 and the S22 Plus. With the S22 Ultra, you can upgrade for more RAM, but you just have to upgrade your storage as well. Now I want to talk about battery life because battery life is important. And I also want to talk about the charging as well because I think this is a hot topic, not the store, don't sue me. So battery life, surprisingly, actually not that surprisingly, I got all day battery life with all three phones. And there is much debate about fast charging and charging speeds. Respectively, I would say that I was impressed with the S22. I basically got all same battery life towards the end of the day. Actually, no, I was definitely using the Ultra more, and I was ending about like 15% at the end of the day. I don't think both of these phones would have lasted me the way I use the Ultra for specific days. But in terms of charging, here's what I'll say. If a phone gives you pretty much all day battery life, there's no real pro to having fast charging, right? So the reason why I'm talking about this is because the S22 has 25 watt fast charging, and then the S22 Plus and S22 Ultra have 45 watt fast charging. First and foremost, what people need to know is that fast charging constantly, like on a regular basis, kind of destroys, not kind of, it does destroy your battery. And if your phone gives you pretty much all day battery life and the only time you're charging it is in your car or when you're sleeping, there's no real benefit to having fast charging. The only time fast charging I would say is beneficial is if you're in a pinch or you're in a rush where you forgot to charge your phone and you need to go in like 30 minutes, hook it up to a fast charger, and then you're good to go. With that being said, 45 watts is better. It's better than not having 25 watts, but I wasn't disappointed with having 25 watts of fast charging on the S22. But battery life, I think most people are going to be happy with, especially if you're coming from an older device. Unless you're coming from like a flip phone from like the early 2000s, those things will last you like days. But now this is a topic where, to be completely honest, I don't want to spend too much time on because I personally don't care like a lot of the other tech community, and this is where a lot of people spend time, and it's going to be the camera. The cameras are great, right? I would say that cameras are becoming boring for me in a way, just because it's the only thing I feel like people really talk about with smartphones. And to be completely honest, this is just my unfiltered opinion, smartphone cameras are fantastic, and comparing last generation to this generation, I would say it's really nothing to write home about unless you're going to the Ultra. The Ultra by far has a substantially better camera than the other two phones, but I don't think a lot of people are going to notice unless you're nitpicking like the fine details within the photo. Samsung has done a remarkable job with these five punch holes for cameras and the color lens being utilized. But like I said, I don't think it's anything for me to spend like 4 to 5 minutes on. If you have an S20 and you're coming to the S22, you're not gonna be disappointed. If anything, you're gonna be like, wow, my photos look 25% better. If you're coming from an S21, same thing. But if you're coming from like a 3 or 4 year old phone, you're definitely going to notice a difference. And I would say if you are picky about your camera, I would say straight up, just go watch someone else. But the cameras are good. Trust me. So giving you guys a little bit more information about the specs, these do all have Wi-Fi 6, but keep in mind the S22 Plus and the S22 Ultra have the Wi-Fi 6E. But if you don't have a Wi-Fi 6E router or you don't plan on using Wi-Fi 6E, who cares? S22 is still gonna be a good choice. They all have in-display fingerprint sensors, so I'll do that real quick. And you don't have to click the lock button in order to unlock your device. I missed the fingerprint there. But fingerprint sensor, right? They're fast, snappy. It also has like face as well, if you're into that. But I primarily use the fingerprint sensor because when I'm holding my phone already, my thumb's just already there to press it. I mean, overall, fantastic devices. Like I said, this is a really good, modest refresh from Samsung. Actually, I just looked at this pen right here. Let me talk about the pen. So for this S Pen, right? And first and foremost, I'm not even a Note person. And when I say Note, I mean the Note series by Samsung. I tried to use this pen, and the only time I really found it beneficial was when, excuse me, I took a screenshot and I wanted to like write or like be fine in my details that I was writing. I was like, oh wow, I have a pen, let me use that. Because the finger, it's a little bit fat, and the pen has a fine point where you can really be accurate on what you want to mark up. I didn't take any notes, but if you're a person who takes notes on the go, I would say the S Pen is better for you in terms of your use cases. Yes, you can take photos with the pen as well, but I really did not find the pen that useful for me. That doesn't mean that this pen isn't useful, right? There are many cases where people can utilize this pen, but for me, I just had no use for it, which is why I almost forgot about it in this review. Like I said, my favorite device out of the three would be the S22 Plus. That would be one that I would personally pick, just because it does have some minor improvements over from the regular S22, primarily being the speakers, which I find very important, and the battery life, and just the slightly bigger display. Like, I feel like I'm compromising a little bit by choosing the regular S22. The Ultra, I just feel like it's a little too ultra for me. Like, there's stuff that I don't really care about, as well as this minor wrap around the screen. It's not that dramatic and it's not that big of a pain, but I would prefer a flat screen if I had the choice, right? 9 times out of 10. But from my own recommendation, and this is pretty consistent with Samsung reviews for me, especially with their smartphones, I would say there is a big rush and hype at the very beginning, but I would say just wait a couple months when these things go on sale by like 100 or 150 bucks. That's when is the prime time to buy flagship Samsung phones. At launch, they're definitely trying to work out some things, but overall, I would say once these are on sale, they're a pickup for me. So I appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. Let me know how you guys think about this unscripted raw review with all 3 devices. Let me know if you prefer a standalone review from each device. I know for me, I'd be kind of annoyed watching 3 separate videos that are 10-minute each, 30 minutes of my time, when I can just get something like this. But who knows? You guys are the audience. Let me know. I appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. I'm gonna go on a run. And as always, guys, much love. I'm out.